Okay, we're live on YouTube now, so.
How about it, Jill? Is this where we start?
Yes, yep, if you're willing to, or yes.
Well, yes. Good morning, everyone. This is Bob Checkaway. I'm dark on the screen because I don't know how to operate it any better. But in Newell Louie's absence, Jill has asked me to stand in as chair because I'm the chair of last resort. I'm coming to you from Mill Valley outside San Francisco, California, where it's barely 7:30 here. And although I understand we don't have a quorum, can I ask everybody to just identify themselves so that if anyone's on the live stream, they'll know who we are? On my screen, can I start with Joey, Mr. Barnes?
Good morning, Joey Barnes, member of the Passamaquoddy tribe representing Indian Township.
And Bert Polches, are you there? I see a nice painting.
Bert texted me that he had to, oh, there he is.
Bert, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bert Polches. I'm one of commissioners representing the Penobscot Nation, and I welcome everyone here.
Mr. Ranko.
Good morning, Darren Ranko, also Penobscot Nation representative, zooming in from Dedham, Maine.
And Vicky, we have a guest. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Vicky Pouliot, and I am the new bookkeeper for you guys. So thank you for that opportunity, and I look forward to working with you.
Oh, congratulations. Next on my screen is Rachel Bell.
Good morning, everyone. Rachel Bell, zooming in from Edmonds, and I am projects coordinator with MITSC.
And next, Mr. Kramer.
Yes, hello, everybody. Nels Kramer representing the state.
And Jill.
Jill Tompkins, Penobscot Nation Tribal Citizen, Executive Director of MITSC.
And Mr. Crofton McDonald is next.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Z. Cross McDonald, Fulton Band of Mountain Indians. Mike be off for most of it because I got Rosemary here, but morning.
Wow, how old is she now?
She's 2.
Wow. And welcome to Teresita Hamill. Would you say hello, please?
It's Teresita. Everybody calls me Terry. I'm zooming in from Caribou, and I'm the vice chief of the Mi'kmaq Nation, joining as a guest.
We're glad to have you. Rena, are you connected? Beijing Rena Newell. She was here moments ago. Oh, Rena, you're muted. She may stay muted. How about Sam St. John? You're also muted.
Sam St. John, the other Fulton Band Mousy commissioner.
Thank you, Sam. Oh, and there's Rena Newell. Say hello, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thank you. I had to log off of my desktop and log back in on the laptop. I sent a message in the chat. Maybe nobody picked it up. But Rena Newell, representing Sabayak here in Passamaquoddy territory, down East Maine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rena. And I didn't identify myself, but I'm the imposter chairman. I'm Bob Checkaway, along with Nels Kramer, one of the 2 state appointees now in place. I think, if I'm counting right, we do not have a quorum, so we'll just have to stumble along the best we can. And Jill, do you want to do anything to rearrange the agenda? Are we skipping those items?
Okay, we're live.
Who is that?
That might have been the YouTube accidentally playing on my computer.
Anyway, Jill, how would you like to approach the agenda? Oh, Jill, you're muted.
Thank you. I would say just go through the agenda as we things that need, just pass on them if we can't do anything about it. So,
well,
and if there's questions that are needed about it.
I'm having trouble hearing that, Jill, but I think, well, let's take them one at a time. Can we do anything about the expiration of the chair's term, which is number 2 on the agenda?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, and how about the bank actions, which is the only thing I think Vicky is signed in for? Can we do anything there?
We would form to pass the reason I put that on is because I think copies of the minutes so I was get that done today. But all it means is that Vicky will have to go through like me to access the bank account, but she has to almost everything else, I think, at this point. And actually, Vicky's here to show you a little financial report, like and let you know where we are in that process.
Shall we do that right now?
She is
as part of.
Still.
I'm sorry, the sound's cutting in and out on me. Jill, do you want to take that up now?
Yeah. I'm gonna hand it off to Vicky.
I think we've lost her. Vicky, are you there? Oh, yes. There she is.
People are freezing.
Go ahead, Vicky, please.
All right. So I kind of wanted to just kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm working on and what my goal is with the financials. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So how I'm going to be setting up the financials, and I've pulled this report for fiscal year. So starting July 1st of 2025. It's my understanding that you guys use a fiscal year. So as you can see, and I'm still working on this, so this is just a draft basically, because there's still some work to do in here. But what I've done is I've created classes for each of the different types of grants that you guys have, right? So essentially, when we're viewing these reports, you're going to have a financial status for each of these funds, as opposed to trying to figure out how much more money do we have for Sewell, or how much money have we spent, or, et cetera, how much have we received, how much have we billed to Cobscope for each of these different fundings. So that's my goal. And as you can see, a lot of things are in the general funds, right? Which is standard for you guys. But there hasn't been a lot of billing that's been done to receive the monies that we've spent for these different grants. So I'm going to get that caught up and do that on a more regular basis, so you guys will have an even cleaner picture of what we're really dealing with. So that's what we're working on. And so you see the income and the expenses, and then you'll see the bottom line for each of the different fundings. So right now it looks like we've obviously spent 11,000 of the main initiatives, but we haven't collected any of these monies. So right now we're fronting the money. So I think that needs to be done on a more regular basis. So any questions on that, or any input that you'd like to see something that's different than what I'm doing, or is this going to be helpful? In the past, have things been handled, or are there things from the past that you guys like, or things that you'd like to see changed, that I could kind of work on moving forward?
Anybody want to respond to that? Vicky, I would thank you. for myself, I would have to admit that I rely almost entirely on Jill Tompkins to keep track of the finances. And now that I look at it, I realize we've gotten ourselves pretty complicated with all the different sources and grants. I'm glad to see we're getting on top of it better. Anybody else?
Yeah, good morning, Vicky. Thank you for the presentation.
Yes, you're very welcome.
I had a question that I hadn't heard before, and I don't know if I just missed it. But the part about the grants and having to bill out, like for example, with main initiatives, you mentioned that. It's a grant, however, in the way in which we draw is based on our fronting the money and covering expenses. Did I understand that correctly?
It's my understanding that the funds go to Cobscook directly,
Okay,
and then we have to submit an invoice to let them so that they send us the money that we've spent. That's my understanding on how that process works for you guys.
okay, I think I got it now because they're
Okay.
the fiscal sponsor, is that correct? Jill
Correct.
or Rachel?
Yes.
Right, it's set out that way. Okay,
So they hold the money until we
So
send them an invoice for what we've spent, is my understanding on what that process looks like. So if it's not done on a regular basis, then we're never receiving that money from Cobscook because we haven't let them know that we've spent it.
okay, so you're gonna get caught up.
Correct.
Another just random question. What do they receive as far as support from MITSC and being the fiscal sponsor? Is there a fee or do they get indirect dollars or anything like that?
Jill, can you help me with that one?
5% of each grant, right off the top, and they take it right away. Can you hear me?
5% of each grant. Wow. Okay.
But if we didn't have them, we wouldn't get any money at all. So I guess it's a small amount. We are missing one. Broad reach is in there for some reason, but that's so we have one more, and it's happening. That was paying out of the jet, and she submitted one request for reimbursement, the invoice, but after that, she didn't do any more because of making the switch over in systems. But Vicky's agreed to do that at least monthly. You get caught.
Yes, Jill and Rena, I think the only way we could avoid that 5% fee is if we sought and obtained a tax exempt ruling from IRS ourselves, which is not impossible, but Jill, we should probably think and talk about that separately. Any other comments on the spreadsheet?
Some places charge as much as 10% for that, Rena. I don't know if the nonprofit world is cutthroat,
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Just to kind of be a holding. Okay, got it. Thank you.
I run.
Well, I'm sorry.
And I don't know that we want that. I run 501c3s, gotten them set up and gotten them restored. And I don't know that you want all that piece to it. You have to file, information returns and so on. But the other thing is the MITSC status as a quasi-state entity. I don't think you want to change that status as well. And that's the way we're getting health insurance and dental insurance through the state plan.
Got it.
Sort of state employees in order to that.
I understand.
New, right, Jill?
Other
Pardon?
That's new, right? The
Yes.
health?
The plan's gonna start March 1st. Yeah. We're ready to go first.
Jill, your video is frozen. Either that or it's on my end. You're kind of jumping around. But are we done with that item? Anybody else have comments or questions? Okay. Let's see. We're going to have to pass the approval of meeting minutes because of the lack of quorum. And Jill,
Well,
hello.
excuse me, Bob. Could we let Vicky go? Thank you.
Yes.
Just-
Anybody need to hold on to Vicky there? Otherwise, Vicky, it's nice to meet you. Good luck with this.
It'll be all good. It'll be all good. So, do you guys typically receive financial documents to review prior to meetings, or what is that standard for you guys?
Jill, you want to take that?
Yes. Yes, ideally, yes, we get them out at least, 5 days beforehand so they have a chance to review them.
Okay, so could I get a schedule of, do you guys have these meetings scheduled ahead of time so that I know what I'm looking at?
Yes, we do. And
Okay.
this just happened to be an extra one.
Okay, that's fine.
Commission had a chance to vote on.
Okay, awesome.
And
Well, if
Bob,
there's
I
ever
was just-
anything, send me an email or reach out if you have any questions on stuff that I send. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Vicky.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Jill, does that bring us to agenda item number 6, which is approval of bylaw? Well, we
I'm
can't.
wondering if
I'm sorry?
could we I'm hoping that the minutes for January 9th, not necessarily to approve them, but just to let Rachel and I think that needs to be corrected. You missed anything. So if you get a couple of minutes just to look at that, and when we do get a quorum, they can be approved.
I'm sorry,
It starts on page 15, those minutes.
you're cutting in and out. Did you want to discuss or sort of preliminarily review the January 9 meeting? Was that it?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Does anybody have any comments or corrections to the draft January 9 minutes? I don't hear any. Rachel, do you have specific questions on that? Or Jill? Who prepares these minutes, by the way?
No.
It's a team effort. I usually do the first draft and then Jill adds and.
Hey, you do a very good job.
Very good.
Yeah, I find that when I try to take notes on anything, I can't do it completely, and then I look at the notes and I wonder what did I mean by that? In any event, Jill, do you want to discuss the approval of legislative amendments involvement bylaws, or shall we pass that since we can't approve it?
It might be a good time to discuss it because of what happened this, not being able to say, yes, we are approved to give testimony on the 2 bills that came up yesterday. So I want to think the committee process and what the committee can do independently without always having to go back to the commission and having a full quorum. So I guess I'm wondering how the commission did this before when you did have a legislative subcommittee. Because the record open yesterday and we could still submit testimony. But if I could work under the current system, that would be okay. But if we had to follow what's in here, move ahead.
I'm sorry, Jill. Again, you're cutting in and out on my device, but your observation was that would be worse off if we adopted the proposal?
I think so. If I recall, I had to go back to the commission. And so your hands are tied. You can't act very quickly. It's also not set up in a way. It talks about, early in the legislative session, the commission's gonna identify what bills they want to weigh in on, and that wasn't possible this time.
Yeah, if
Right. It says so.
yes,
There
Jill?
are instances where things will have to go back. There's instances where things will have to go back to the entire commission. I guess we set up an email process for that. So anyway, it might be good about that at in a little more depth when we've got everybody here and kind of look at what happened this time. How could this have been set so that it could respond more quickly and get involved in hearings?
Yeah, this may be an insoluble problem where we have a commission that meets, every couple of months and a legislature that acts on, at best 7 days notice. We're always going to be left kind of flat-footed. I take it your wish, Jill, is to bring that up again at our next regular meeting.
I think so, and run it through. But in the meantime, the process that was used, before I got on board, was that legislative committee that would make decisions. And did those decisions have to go back to the full commission, or were they able to just go ahead and say testimony?
I don't know that we had a firm rule on that. I think we operated on a consensus of whoever was available.
Because one of the bills yesterday, it was a role that's placed for MITSC. There was a discussion about setting up a alternative dispute resolution forum for tribal state conflict and for MITSC, but MITSC would be responsible raising it and pulling it together and using best practices and medium, and that they would also be culturally appropriate, but there's no money for that, no staffing. And then initially my research in the legislative history has been that was supposed to be MITSC's role, to have those disputes come to MITSC because it's already got, the state and tribal representatives on it. So I don't know if anybody from MITSC was involved in the drafting of that bill. I mean, maybe I wouldn't have to do testimony. Maybe if it's MITSC's, wish, I could talk to the Senator Talbot Ross, simply say, could you take that provision out? Because MITSC wasn't conferred with, as far as I know. And we already have several unplanned dates that are on our plate.
Yeah, Jill, if everyone who was in the loop the last couple of days, you may know that I filed my own statement with sort of a nod and a wink from the others, observing the odd things that occurred to me, and then mentioning that, oh, by the way, there's this section 61, which would have MITSC fill a role, but it's not funded, and maybe you ought to consider it as a standalone measure. I think changing MITSC's responsibilities to either act as a alternative dispute resolution forum or put the thing together would be a significant enough change in our activities that it really does deserve separate consideration. I'm reminded of the cultural competency education, which was in instituted by, what was it, LD 585 a couple of years ago, the collaboration bill. And MITSC wasn't even mentioned, but Jerry Reed called to say, gee, we haven't quite figured out how to do that. Would MITSC mind doing that? And we've undertaken to get that in place well enough, but I'm not sure we want to repeat that with the ADR bill. Jill, speaking just for myself, I think it would be a good idea if you could perhaps talk to the speaker, Rachel Talbot Ross, and just mention that the handoff there is a little vague.
And I could maybe talk to the Alliance too, because I believe they drafting the alliances.
Excuse this aside, but Bert, is it just me, or is the painting behind you changing from time to time?
What are you taking? No, I'm just joking. It changes. It's actually our TV down here in the well, I guess we consider it a basement. I want to call it something else. It's more awesome than a basement. So
Man cave.
Well, I can't do that because my wife would rebel against that.
Thank you, Bert. I see the images just changed, and I'm just old enough that I'm not used to seeing that kind of device. But it's very interesting. You do seem to have a heck of a basement there.
That's one of those. It's by Hisense. It's the model's called the what do you call Canvas.
All right.
All right.
Jill, where have we left things here? That's
Bob, I apologize real quick. I was just dealing with poopy baby. But I missed what you were just saying. Any chance you could repeat it?
You missed what I was saying? I was just talking to Bert about the changing image behind him.
Before that, I'm sorry.
We were on the subject of what I think is section 61 of LD 785, what I call the omnibus reform bill, which would sort of out of nowhere designate MITSC as a body to advise and consent and create an alternative dispute resolution forum for state tribal matters. And as Jill pointed out in our hurried discussion going into that, nothing is specified about whether that would be mandatory or binding arbitration or mediation, or whether it would just be what I call a book club, which is where people go and discuss things. I mean, clearly, in my view, we need nodes at which the state and the tribes can connect over these sometimes routine matters. We don't really have one. We've got the commission, we've got the Wabanaki Alliance, we've got the tribes individually. I don't know who in the state has to be involved in matters. I think we've taken it for granted that it's either Jerry Reed in the governor's office, or maybe it's somebody in the legislature. Zeke, have you already been into this, the idea of dispute resolution, or is it new to you too?
That's new to me as well. I mean, that aspect of that bill has been in there, but I was not aware that there was any kind of further negotiations on that, on MITSC filling that role.
I don't think there have been any negotiations, at least not with MITSC. Shall we leave it that we'll just use our own personal means of communication, Jill, or perhaps you, Zeke, to get in touch with? Here we go. That's an illustration of the problem. Who do we call to talk about this? I guess it would be the speaker. And if we want to get agreement on it, it would probably require somebody in the governor's office. I mean, the idea of having an alternative dispute forum is a good one, but we're starting from zero. I don't know that there's been any real consideration of it. I think it's another example like the collaboration bill where, or like the original 1980 statutes where the drafters get to a point where this is a good idea, we don't know how to do it, so let's make it MITSC. Yes, Rena.
I think, I'm thinking that's coming out of the 22 recommendations. I'm thinking this, and maybe additional clarification can come from the clerk on the Judiciary Committee, or maybe the chair may have been caught up on it, but definitely the clerk for the Judiciary Committee might be able to provide some clarification on how that was written in. For some reason, I seem to recall that that was part of the 22 recommendations.
Thank you, Rena. I don't remember myself, but another person who might be an excellent contact on that is Janet Stocco, who has been the.
That's what I mean by the clerk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jill, can we dump this one on
On the
you?
list, I guess.
It's Janet, and there's another one.
Elias
Yeah.
Murphy. But I think Janet is the one who has made up all the tables and really has it all committed to memory.
Yeah, I think that would be the one to contact.
Jill, shall we leave it that perhaps you and I will be in touch with people on the committee and or governor's office to just mention that that's a loose end they've left in the bill?
Yeah.
You may just be able
I'd
to
be
get.
happy to work with you on that.
I'm sorry, would you say that again, please?
Are you reading?
I think just for additional clarification, that might be helpful. I was looking too at the I don't know what you'd find in the state of Maine legislative website as far as materials under the Judiciary Committee tabs. You might find some background information there too that might be helpful. It's been a number of years.
Janet Stocco prepared an updated table of all the proposals, which she handed out to the committee that first week they were in session. And I never followed through to get a copy for myself, but if I'm in touch with her, along with Jill, I'll certainly ask for one. She seems to have a better handle on the whole history than just about anyone else, and she's not term limited, so she'll be with us. Any other comments, questions on the proposal for making the commission a fulcrum for the new ADR process?
Yes, yes, Bob.
Yes, see.
I think it's worth noting that we might have a new governor. I mean, we will have a new governor, and this whole kind of conversation can be brought up and a new framework introduced. We're going to have to create brand new relationships. And I mean, in the past, during this negotiations over these bills, MITSC hasn't played a role. And as much as the alliance sometimes hosts space for the chiefs, but it's the chiefs who are at the head of that. And, directly with the governor's office, usually Jerry Reed. Does, what role MITSC would play in that moving forward is a genuine question. So, yeah, I mean, we will have a new governor, new legal counsel, and potentially new role for MITSC moving forward, potentially.
Yes, Bert.
I'm just wondering, I kind of been thinking about it for a while now, but then I kind of went by the wayside for a moment. But this whole conversation right now brought it back, and I'm thinking that yes, as the we as the Tribal State Commission, we know what we're supposed to be doing for the most part, but with the Wabanaki Alliance, we've many times just sidestepped because usually our tribal leaders are directly involved with that. But a lot of times, decisions and moves that are made come from that entity, and kind of leaves us in the dark sometimes. And I think somehow we as a commission, should probably respectfully, go to the Wabanaki Alliance and maybe let them know that, look, in order to do our job, we need to know what's going on. Yeah, so that way we can be as effective as we possibly can. I don't know how to go about that personally, but I know seeing the talent that we have on this commission, and I think somehow we can reach out and hopefully get something done, so that way we can be in line with whatever's going on. Because there's things that we do have a responsibility for, yet because the fact that our tribal leaders are involved with them and directly in the Wabanaki Alliance, we kind of seem to get left out.
Amen to that, Bert. I mean, everybody knows everybody in this state and these tribes, but it's complex between the tribes are all different. The chiefs often have different views of their own. Then there's the Wabanaki Alliance, which does and doesn't speak for all the tribes or each tribe. Then you got the governor, the governor's office, the legislature. I mean, with this uh, separation of powers government is great, but it does make it difficult to get things done. And MITSC is sort of a mysterious entity which is out there, and things can be added to its agenda and taken from it. But we don't really get involved in the loop. I think probably the best thing we can do is use this opportunity to be in touch with the alliance, the governor's office, the sponsor, and just get a feel for what everybody is imagining for us, and let them know that if it's anything other than good wishes, that we might need funding. Other comments on this? I'm not seeing any hands, but yeah, this is a live one. We'll be coming back to that. Jill, are we on agenda item 7, the bills in the second session?
Yes, you can move to that.
Well, who wants to lead our discussion on that? Zeke, are you in a position to keep us up to date?
Hey, Bob, I missed the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, we're stumbling into agenda item number 7, which is an overview of the bills in the second session. And I just you came to my mind first as the one who might be most directly involved. Can you tell us anything about what is going on in that second session, especially the major hearings yesterday?
Yeah, I can give some overview. I want to invite Rena. Rena, do you have anything to share about how yesterday went first?
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador. So I want to go back though to Bert's comment earlier, because I thought we had this conversation before, Bert, between the Wabanaki Alliance and MITSC as far as trying to maintain those communications and connection when it comes to, what's happening down there in Augusta. I don't know where we wavered from that, but I think we need to revisit that. And you have, the ambassador and I sit on the Wabanaki Alliance board as well. So maybe we can bring that back up with them to see where we can go, and providing that communication to MITSC and the connection. So like you said, for us, in my opinion, from the Wabanaki Alliance perspective, our direction comes from the chiefs, so it's good if we're all familiar with what's happening. As far as yesterday, leading up to yesterday, the chiefs met with the Wabanaki Alliance, because the Wabanaki Alliance themselves were in a position of how to respond to the coalition. So the Wabanaki Alliance Coalition is made up of 330, I think, organizations. So that's a large amount of people that are concerned with where our bills are and how they can support. So we did have a meeting with the chiefs, and then we had a meeting ourselves, and then we had a meeting with the chiefs on Wednesday in Augusta. And then so yesterday, testimony was provided for the two bills, the larger sovereignty bill and the federal beneficial bill as well. So we heard from each chief yesterday, and the ambassador actually testified 2 occasions yesterday. Each of the chiefs may have just testified just one time in the morning or at both times at 10 o'clock and then at 1 o'clock. A lot of support, but I think it's safe to say, Ambassador, that there's been some ongoing discussions, right from before the start of this second short session that the governor's office has been having. So it'll be interesting because it'll be interesting in how things come out. If they come to an agreement, in how that will come back to the work session and how it gets voted out. Ambassador, you want to jump on?
Yeah, that's all, accurate. I guess I can also share that these negotiations between the chiefs and Jerry Reed's, Jerry Reed and the governor's office have been ongoing since between the 2 sessions. They're primarily focused on iGaming and also finding compromises within these bills that would actually get them over the finish line. And so there were two potential things that were brought up as potential negotiating compromises. One of which, we heard about both of them in the session yesterday, but I guess I think the big one that I'm quite hopeful for is the taxation change. Ever since 585, we've had tribal citizens who live on tribal lands, who work for a tribal organization, tribal business or government, don't need to pay state income tax. That's been around since 585 for a few years now. And there's been problems with that for a while now. I remember this was brought up way back when with the chiefs meeting with the governor down in Augusta. It was a couple years ago now. But one of the biggest problems with it is that there's a lot of our tribal citizens that don't live in community but still work for tribal organizations, tribal businesses, and government. I'm one of them. I live next town over. I don't live on the res, but I also still work for tribal government. So But we still have to pay state income tax. We are exempt from that provision in 585. So that is the hopeful change, and the change that we heard Jerry Reed share yesterday, that he's willing to work with us on. So yeah, that's so going into those sessions yesterday, the chiefs had already been, discussing these ideas with the governor's office, and yeah, we were pleasantly surprised that he chose to uh, testify in support of the bills, and I think largely because of these ongoing negotiations, and feeling positivity about that, which is good. But yeah, I mean that being said, the full sovereignty bill and full sovereignty is something that each of the chiefs have shared will always be a top priority. And um, I think we don't have the strategy yet, of course, but I think it's a very good chance that we will continue this. Next session, we have a new governor, new opportunity, and yeah, it's hopefully a really positive outlook for next session. But that's
Thank you, Rena and Zeke. Yeah, I've had the impression that there are no discussions between the tribes, Wabanaki Alliance, and the governor's office, and was pleasantly surprised to read, I guess, yesterday, that I guess Reuben Schaefer's article says there's all kinds of progress, and then there was a separate letter to the editor from the Passamaquoddy chiefs, giving Janet Mills a vote of support, which seemed to come out of nowhere to me. So things are looking up, although once again, MITSC is not where it's at. Enough said on that. Any other comments on second session bills pending? Anybody? I hear none.
Bob, I had questions, and maybe Rena can help with this. If you look on the chart on page 23, there's two bills that were passed, but they're sitting on the appropriations table. And I wonder, is there anything that we could do to encourage them to fund these two bills? One is the Wabanaki Studies bill, and then the other was the free access to state parks bill.
I'm thinking, I don't know when they are going to be meeting again to decide. I don't even know if the fiscal note has been determined or even attached to these two bills. I wouldn't expect the free access to they must have had some projections of what that would cost. I'm not sure why they're still sitting on the table. I think my suggestion would be to reach out to those members that sit on that committee and inquire as to the status. That would be my suggestion. Yeah, without doing any further research, Jill, I don't know what the fiscal notes for either one of those bills were. Just inquiry probably to learn the status. They could be funded or they could die there.
Yeah, they do have fiscal notes, but you're right. I don't know what the exact dollar amount is. And then this is sort of a side issue, but yesterday seemed like a kumbaya session. Everybody was, seemed very supportive. And I thought that Jerry presented a different view of that. I thought the governor was opposed to the bills. So I was pleasantly surprised when he came out and said that, she was supportive of them. And then he did fudge a little bit. So that was nice to see. But as I was walking through the building, I'm just like, there's all these gigantic portraits of white men, usually in black robes, throughout the State House. And I didn't see a whole lot of women, and certainly no Native people. And I suppose, being separate sovereigns, maybe we don't need to be in the State House. But I thought maybe for Indigenous Peoples Day, we are hoping to launch our first training, the first cultural competency training. We'll give you an update on that week of Indigenous Peoples Day, and we're right now looking for locations to hold that. So we do have some exciting updates on that. But also, could it be possible to maybe pull together like a photography exhibit of pictures of where, like, historic pictures of tribal leaders with state leaders? Like, there's a lot of, like, my great grandfather shaking the hand of the governor, or taking them on a fishing trip. James Francis probably has a whole repository of them. So maybe, again, get a little grant from the Maine Arts Commission to do a really beautiful photographic exhibit showing that there's been cooperation, throughout the centuries, something like that. And then at the same time, maybe doing some kind of exhibit of Wabanaki artwork. I'm a basket maker, so of course I lean toward baskets, but just war clubs and sculpture, pulling that together. So at that time in the State House, there's just a reminder that the Indigenous people are still here. So I should stop taking on projects, but I got excited about doing something like that.
Great idea. I think that's a great idea and appropriate time too.
May I interject?
Yes.
We, in regards to the cultural issue that Jill was just talking about, we had our council meeting Wednesday night, but due to time restraints, we weren't able to get to discuss that. So we won't have an answer for you, Jill, until after our March 4th meeting. Is that a problem?
I think that's fine, because we really don't need the what she's referring to is that under the grant we had established that once the curriculum was somewhat finalized, that we would then meet with each of the tribal communities and a group of folks, kind of thinking mostly elders, who are familiar with tribal customs and traditions and the culture, and they would look at the curriculum and see whether or not we were on point, like we were teaching what's supposed to be taught, what they thought was important. And so, Rachel, maybe you can fill in. Did you send letters or emails asking
I
for
sent an email.
designation? Okay. And what did you ask in that email?
Well, I reached out to Vice Chief Hamill about that, just that we would like to connect with them to discuss who they felt would be appropriate cultural advisors, and shared the goal of this training, and that we were looking to people to run the curriculum by.
Other discussion on this? I'm sorry, did somebody volunteer? I hope I'm not stepping over anyone, but yeah, the changing the art on the walls in the State House is a great idea. There is a portrait of a Penobscot chief whose name escapes me. But it's ancient, it's way back, and I think the portrait is under restoration. That would give us at least one portrait of somebody who's not an old dead white guy. And there's no shortage of photographs of interest. I noticed the Dwayne Thomas Sabaya Museum has been posting some photographs, and there's another Facebook site that has been posting all kinds of early photographs of tribal people in the state. I'll make a note to start looking into some of that myself. I'm not sure who is in charge of the artwork in the State House, but should be easy enough to find out. Any further discussion on arts and culture? Jill, does that bring us down to agenda item 8, which is the latest lawsuit?
Yes.
And will you lead us?
I just Well, I started to read the complaint, but basically they're arguing that it's a race-based law and they're being excluded the other gaming companies. So I guess just to be aware that, here we thought we had a little bit of a victory in the governor, finally deciding to let it become law, but there's this lawsuit that's going to possibly hold it all up. So.
Yeah, I can share a little bit about that as well. Well, not going into detail, of course, but the Chiefs are working hard and united against that. So work is well underway.
With that,
Yeah, because
yes? Did I hear
no, I
something?
was just thinking because I was just thinking when I saw the story, I thought, right off of a bunch of arguments, to oppose it. And I don't know if MITSC gets involved in too many lawsuits. I think they've got involved in the Penobscot River case. But do you want to be on standby to do an amicus brief or anything down the line to join with the?
I'm not looking for work, but obviously let's follow this and see what happens. It's the first lawsuit anywhere that I'm aware of challenging an iGaming. It's sort of an off the menu in that it's not part of the existing gaming system, and I can't think of another state that has done anything like this. We might get in touch with who is the fellow who runs Turtle Talk, that professor. Sorry, I'm just
Matthew Fletcher.
yes, Matt Fletcher. Might give me a good excuse to contact him. I think that may bring us to item number 9, Jill, and on the fishing rules amendment, I think you may have touched that more recently than I have. Did you have
we did.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I do have a little bit of an update. Maps from Jared Parker at IFNW, and he was able to use the tribal information to come up and show where. And I do have to clarify with him if he went through and said, well, this pond is more than 10 acres, and this, shoreline land is more than a half mile. So things that fit within MITSC's sort of territorial jurisdiction. Step would be to look and compare that to the existing rules because there's new water bodies that may not be in the 1998 rules. So I think that, and I've been playing tag with Liz Laddie of IFNW. I don't know her title, but she did reach out to try to conference about that. So I will try again to meet with her. I guess the question, I guess for the commission and maybe for Bob and Nels in particular is, do we have a follow-up meeting at this point with IFNW?
Nels, can I answer that one? And I'll step on Sam St. John's toes too. Just to review
Right.
Jill's remarks, the whole project of updating the rules depended on moving from the 20th century map basis of determining jurisdiction to the 21st century version of GIS mapping. That all of the tribes had to get together their whatever it is that makes up GIS, their digital information, and transfer it to Parker at IFNW. That's been done. Parker has put together all of the pieces of the mosaic making up the map. And I think he left it that the tribal biologists should get back in touch with him with any revisions or corrections. And then that process was followed closely by Liz Laddie's contact, saying that she would like to get together with us. I can't remember her official title. Nels, do you know what she is? I think she's head of.
Well,
there's been so many title changes in not only IF&W, but throughout state government. She used to be the fisheries director, or that was a term for the person who oversaw both the fish biologist as well as the hatchery system. So fisheries director, I think, is close.
Yeah, I think on the organizational chart, she would be just below Judy Camuso, who is the commissioner. I think they divide that into fish on one side and wildlife on the other. In any
Warden
event,
service comes in as well.
okay. Yeah, the wardens have not been part of the whole process yet. We did get one of the Passamaquoddy wardens in the mail loop lately, but to get to the end, I think we need to get back to Liz Laddie and see if she will. If she is in a position to respond to the bigger issues that we left out there, which include uh, for one thing, whether we might publish jointly. We haven't published rules in 20 some years, and I'm not anxious to make any more work for our limited professional staff here. So it'd be nice if any rules we do promulgate could be part of a common book with IFW, although that is such a political issue, we need to go up their chain of command and hear back. That's an example of the kind of thing we need Liz Laddie for. Anybody have comments or questions on the fishing rules amendments and updates?
So where you're moving will be another meeting amongst the biologists
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was
for a final look over.
That's as good a guess as any I can offer, Nels. Once we find out from Liz Laddie where they stand on the big questions, we would presumably need at least, and hopefully not more than, one more meeting with the biologist to settle the actual rules, the substantive rules. I don't think there was much disagreement about that, and the uncertainty now is the big picture items like publishing in the same book and so on. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be at least one more meeting of the biologists to settle the rules. Jill,
It
comments?
would be helpful for everyone to look over the data files that Jared sent around and take a hard look at the spreadsheet and on both the lakes and ponds, rivers and streams, make sure that everybody's on board with any changes that may have occurred.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they need a look over. And I assume if there's another meeting of the biologists, both tribal and state, that's something that can come up for discussion.
Yeah, Jill, any more from you?
No, that's a great point. Start and see if the tribal biologists agree with the map that these are in fact what would be MITSC waters. And then because some of them are new, we can look at how the state's been regulating, particular ponds and so on. And should MITSC stay with that same regulation, or should there be a change? Part they've consistent with what the state already had in place.
All right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Hello? Yes, Rena.
I have a question. Is Inland Fisheries and Wildlife the committee of jurisdiction? Is that what I'm hearing?
Committee of jurisdiction. We've been dealing with IF&W on the rules. I'm not sure who their committee is.
That's who you have to present to?
I'm sorry.
I don't think
I'm losing the audio. Rena, to answer, I think answer your question, MITSC has to let judiciary know in advance each year if we're working on new rules. Uh, and I assume that if we get that far, IF&W would have to do that with their committee of jurisdiction, but I don't know who it is. Nels, do you know who IF&W?
The legislative committee,
Yes, sir.
I don't know, who is in particular is on that committee. I don't
So,
keep up with.
not to interrupt, but, so it sounds like it's joint then. It sounds like it would have to go before the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee, which you mentioned earlier, Commissioner Camuso, would report, I believe, to that committee, from the department. I think the reason why, and then it would have to go to the Judiciary Committee, if that's what you're saying, as far as tribal oversight, committee oversight, jurisdiction wise. But the reason why I'm asking this question is I was just inquiring as to what the role of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council is when it comes to these discussions. The reason why I ask this is because we have a Penobscot tribal citizen that sits on the advisory council now. And that is John Neptune from the Penobscot Nation.
Yeah, Rena, if I may, this check away. Yes, you alerted us to that some months ago, and I contacted Mr. Neptune to let him know that we were working on this, and promised to keep him advised. Although I don't think there's been any major development. I think uh, that if IF&W begins to adopt new rules, that they then go to their advisory board before finalizing their rules. I think that's where the advisory board fits in.
Okay.
But I will keep.
Correct.
Thank you. I'll keep. I get the agendas or minutes of the advisory board meeting. And they stage these things, step one, step two, step three. And I guess we would have to go through their process. I don't know how long it would take. But yes, I'm aware that there is an advisory board. Have the email from Mr. Neptune, and we'll keep him in the loop as this develops.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to raise that. Thank you for responding to my question.
We could invite,
What's that, Jill?
Jill, are you there?
could invite them, but the one thing I wanted to say was when we started. Yes. Can you not?
We hear you. Jill, we heard you. Jill, have you frozen there? Your picture is frozen. Oh, no. Everybody else still seems live, but Jill, you appear frozen. You need to hit a button or something? While we're waiting, Rena, thank you for that, by the way. You were the one who first mentioned the advisory board. I think we've looped into them before it's too late. Bert, yes, sir.
Yeah, listening to this discussion, I think that maybe, if possible, even invite John Neptune to meet with us, whether, and possibly, give us a little more insight from his perspective.
I think that's a really good idea, Bert, considering I was the sponsor of these bills that allowed two different seats, one on the advisory board for inland fisheries and wildlife, and another seat on the Department of Marine Resources, where we have yet to fill a seat, but have not had a circle back. So that's a really good suggestion to see, you know, and actually John's seat is coming up in a few months, 26. But that was actually a confirmation hearing for him to go through IFW committee back then. But that's a really good idea, and I hope we could do that because I think it would lend itself to the participation, you know, at these advisory boards, to the department, you know, and how do they tie in with MITSC or the tribes themselves?
Now, let's definitely bring Mr. Neptune back into the loop once, I would say once Jill has made the connection with Liz Laddie. And Jill, have you disappeared? I don't see her anymore. Is she on anybody else's screen?
Nope.
No,
Well,
hopefully she'll
she
come
may
back.
zoom. Yes, Rachel?
I was just saying, yeah, hopefully she's trying to come back, but she did disappear.
Yeah, this Zoom stuff is great when it works. I mean, it works. It's there you are. Jill, are you with us? You're muted.
Yes, I'm sorry, Zoom kicked me out completely. So I think one of the questions, and Rena, I really appreciate your question because when we started this process, I think we thought it was just going to be technical rule changes, and you don't need legislative approval if it's just technical rule changes. But if it's a substantive rule change, then yes, it does have to go through the legislative approval. I don't know who makes a determination as to whether it's substantive or technical.
Yeah, I don't either, and I've always wondered about that. But we've gone through the easy part, which is advising our committee of jurisdiction, the judiciary, that we have that we're working on new rules. I guess that they can go look at our new rules if they're technical only, if they're interested. But if we, I guess, decide that they're substantive, then we have to go through a different, more involved procedure to affirmatively bring them before the committee. Let's make at least a mental note to take that up with Liz Laddie, figure out whether either group thinks that these are substantive changes. My impression so far has been that they are, as extensive as they are, they're still just technical. And I say that because each other fishing rule change that I see coming out of IF&W is treated as a technical rule only. And let's see, Jill, if you're still with us, are we on the agenda item number 10, the commissioner vacancies? And if so, do we want to go to executive session?
Well, if we could just take a sidestep. Oh, the Bert's got his hand up.
Well, I don't think we can get ourselves into executive session without quorum, but I do have a suggestion that, you know, maybe when this meeting is over, we can at least have some discussion on it, so that way when that time comes and we can bring it in front of quorum, we can make any decisions that we need to make at that point. But I think that it's important enough for us, you know, to have this discussion while we have as many of our commissioners together.
Bert, thank you for that point of order. I guess we can't, without a quorum, we can't even go into executive session, but perhaps we can leave that for an off the live stream discussion after the business is concluded. I see Rena Newell nodding there, so I'll take that as a second. Jill, shall we move on to agenda item number 11, which is the...
No, actually, if you can, we should take a step back because probably back when we were talking about the minutes, I was hoping that Rachel can share with you. You just mentioned reports, that there's a very bare bones report that gets filed with the Secretary of State's office. So that did get filed. But then as MITSC, we have our own reporting requirement. So we've been working on the annual report and we're really close to having it done. So I just wanted to see if she could share kind of what that is starting to look like.
Oh, Yes, Rachel, you're muted.
Rachel, you're muted.
There we go. I was having with the shift in screen, I was having trouble unmuting. Anyway, I'm unmuted now. Yeah, so this is the annual report that we've been working on, and I'll just scroll down slowly. This is the cover.
Who did the cover?
A woman named Allison Ross, who is kind of part of the team with Rafi Hopkins and I doing, she subcontracts through Rafi doing design work.
Very nice.
And
Is
then
that, is that a
we can-
depiction of me paddling in my canoe, Rachel Bell?
Yes.
It was actually my idea to have this.
I like
Yeah.
that graphic.
Yeah.
I probably could send along some images from the St. Croix annual canoe.
Mm.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Jill had the vision for this cover, so she deserves credit for the vision, and then Allison helped pull it together and bring it to life.
I like it.
And then we have our table of contents, and we worked really hard. We're trying to really follow the brand that we've established for MITSC. So we're consistently using the same type of design and fonts, so it's very recognizable. So we followed a lot of the C-Run report with the layout of this. There's the executive director's message.
It's a question about formatting, Rachel Bell. Where are you hosting your Webinaki symbols?
Hosting them.
Yeah, where are you holding them?
We have them in a MITSC Google Drive, and they're taken from the logo. So they originally came from whoever did the MITSC logo before any of us came along, and then we've been using them in MITSC website and design work.
Have we ever figured out what those double curve icons mean?
I believe so, but I'm not the one to accurately recall or try to convey that. But I feel like there's even a document somewhere that describes them. But if anyone on this call wants to share that, by all means.
I think I'm not familiar, but I definitely have an interest. So I was interested in what you all had over there, as far as documentation around the symbols, the curves and the motifs in general. That's what I meant by, where are you hosting these? Where are you holding these? Are they available?
Okay. Yeah, they're only, at this point, we're only using them in like the MITSC website or printed material, but I do feel like there's a document within MITSC's possession that discusses the history and meaning. So I could try to find that and email it to you.
That'd be wonderful for me. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah.
I remember trying to figure it out at one point too, and there's a book out there written by a white man named Frank Speck. That might be what you're referring to. He wrote quite a bit about it, but I mean, his conclusion in a lot of ways was it's art. There's symbol and meaning, but depictions of flowers and stuff. But that was just his his conclusion.
And then you can kind of see on the right-hand side here, I mean, we've used different pull quotes. It's hard for you to read it at this size probably, but some of those pull quotes are the quotes that we got from you, the commissioners, about, why you're part of MITSC and what you feel like MITSC's most important work currently is. So here we have a discussion of MITSC's mission. Here we have the mission. you're seeing right now, because this is going to be in a stapled booklet, so you're seeing both pages at this size. MITSC statutory duties, and then we get into the focus areas, and we really tried to emulate the way the website looks with this, so it's consistent. We have a page of the commissioners here, who's on the commission, our meeting schedule. There's a Bert Pulci's quote there, featured over the ferns. This talks about staff and consultants and the annual budget. We have some nice pie charts here that show the breakdown of the budget. And then we get into regulatory activities, talk about the fishing rules, MITSC regulated waters and the definition of that. A whole piece talking about restoration of tribal sustenance fisheries and the Sea Run audiobook release. The grant that we've gotten to work on implementation of Sea Run recommendations, and then some of the educational outreach of improving tribal state relations, and a discussion of cultural competency and the training we're working on. There's the Sam St. John quote there. And then I think this is talking about, it's hard for me to read it, but I believe it's legislative, some legislative updates. And then a final ingratitude page. So that's the annual report that we'll be printing very, very soon.
Wow, that is outstanding. I'd call that the high point of the meeting so far. You really make us look like an organization that knows what we're doing.
Well, it was a huge team effort. Jill did an amazing job drafting all of that. And then Allison with her design work, and Rafi and I going back and forth with her on that and really honing in on something.
I'm glad you could bring that up when we have a guest like Teresita Hamill, make it look like we really know what we're doing here.
May I interject? That was a very beautiful picture of our council chambers. I thank you for that.
Yes, well, thank you so much for hosting us. That was a really wonderful space to meet, and we felt very welcomed.
Not to mention what a beautiful layout throughout. Well done.
Thank you.
Look forward to the finished product. Jill, are we back to number 11?
Nope, sorry.
Okay.
We're on 10, but still 10, because Terry's here because there had been discussion, raised numerous times, should we invite the Mi'kmaq Nation to participate, Mi'kmaq Nation to participate on MITSC and so on. And I just happened to stumble across an actual law that was passed in 2013 that did create seats for the nation, as it also added 2 state seats, I guess, to keep the balance. And so I researched what happened to that law, and it turned out because it's an amendment, anytime you amend that section to do with MITSC, it has to be approved by the tribes, because it's an amendment to the implementing act. So that's why that didn't go anywhere. So I did reach out to Terry and the chief and asked, do they have interest in, bringing that back? So Terry, can I just ask you to speak to that?
Yes, me and the chief spoke about this yesterday, and I sent an email expressing that, yes, we are interested. And again, I have to wait till the March 4th meeting to find a second representative to add to that, but we just need to know how do I present this to my council? I guess I need a little bit more history on MITSC and the responsibilities of sitting on the board. But yeah, the chief and I are very interested in moving forward with it.
Teresa, this is Bob Checkaway. In as much as we've been working on this for 10 years. Hello? We've been working on this for 10 years. I don't see that another few weeks delay will cost us much. And from from my point of view, it would be ideal to have the Mi'kmaq Nation represented on our commission. It would give us the strength and depth we lack, but we'll be in touch with you at greater length, or perhaps Jill will.
Absolutely. If I may, I reached out today and let them know that the chief and I will discuss a time next week to, I think it was Jill I sent the email to pick a time where we could have a phone conversation about this. We know that it's nothing that can come into play until after the 133rd or the 33rd legislature. So we know there's time, but we want to make sure that when we request it from our tribal council, that they understand that it's not a committee that you just sit there and say yay or nay to. There's actual work involved. You guys do amazing work, and I want to ensure that the other commissioner or seat is filled by somebody that's willing to take on that full responsibility along with myself. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Bert?
Yeah, I've been around for that time when the discussions on the Mi'kmaq coming in and being an official part of the commission. And I know that, for years, the Mi'kmaq had always had seats open for them to attend, any of the commission meetings and even give, input, which was very, very valuable to assist us in our work. And I remember when, that whole idea that, Mi'kmaq might officially come in and take their seats on this commission. I was excited. I kind of always seemed to feel, that there was always an empty space whenever the Mi'kmaq were not present, because, like I said, they used to come in. They always had that seat and always had the time to be able to voice their opinions and now, give whatever outlook or insight that they possibly can, and it was always valuable. And so, I hope that somehow we can bring our relatives, the Aroostook Band and Mi'kmaq, into this body, because I think that would fill that void that sometimes I feel this commission has. So, I know there was some, little bit as far as, trying to figure out, well, would we really have a valid, voice in this commission? I think so. The validity of the voices that are sitting here, it depends on us as Squabanagik. We have our neighbors, that from the state, the state commissioners, and we try our best to do what we can, work together. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we have in trying to fill the state seats, is because, it's not a matter of whether we value your inside or not. It's a matter of whether we can actually do some work in a positive direction for all of us, for all of our, because, we're talking about things that take place in our homeland, which is our relative as well. So, if you will, interject, my heartfelt words to your tribal nation, the Aroostook Band and Mi'kmaq.
Bert, that was eloquently said. Thank you so much for that input. And I truly personally believe that any platform that brings all of the nations together in working for the betterment of the Wabanaki people as a whole only makes that platform so much stronger. And I see the need for that. The previous vice chief and chief felt where MITSC was created under, I believe, the 1980 Settlement Act, that we weren't included, so there was no point in us actually joining MITSC. So that was the hold back from the previous administration. This administration, like I said, looks at it differently because again, it's a platform that brings all of our peoples together, and we're focused on moving in one direction, which always makes us so much stronger. And again, thank you, and I will reiterate your comments to our tribal council when I present this. Thank you, Bert.
Thank you all. Boy, that's right up there with the annual report as a high point of the meeting. Jill, are we ready to move on to number 11?
Yes. Yes,
I call the Department of Redundancy Department.
right, exactly. If the commission is interested in dropping the Indian part of the name because of the redundancy and the misnomer, whole going back to Columbus, I did a little bit of research on how that would have to happen. And it seems that there is only a rule change, so they could do that internally, I guess. So that's on page 35, that at one point the name of the tribal representative switched from Indian to Wabanaki. And then I said, well, maybe I should look at how many places in the statutes MITSC comes up as a term. And so that's on page 36 and 37. So it would have to be some kind of an omnibus bill that says, oh, and by the way, change this language. And we would work with the reviser of statutes, I believe, to come up with that. So anyway, they're just working on it. There's no bill or anything yet drafted or anything.
Well, if we should be so lucky as to introduce a bill next time to add Mi'kmaq Nation, perhaps that can be section 2. We'll tidy up everything all at once.
That's a great idea.
And Bob, if MITSC plays the role of that conflict resolution space in the tribal sovereignty bill, we would need to have MITSC representation in order for that to be, a fair space for conflict resolution. We would have to have that discussion.
Boy, complete reorganization, recomposition, name change, and mission change. By the way, with the reference to Columbus, here on the West Coast, I'm finding names like Balboa Park and Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. So they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Jill, are we down to the approval of, wait a minute, February 20 minutes?
Well, that was because I was going to need the resolution and the minutes for the bank. And so what I'd done, I sort of pre-drafted minutes and Rachel was going to fill it all in. So we would have left the meeting with that all taken care of. So never mind. But at least we've got a skeleton. It'll be easy to do the minutes for this meeting.
I'm laughing because I brought that up already in a text message.
All right then.
Trying to be efficient.
Yes, Joe?
I was trying to be efficient.
Well, you can't, there's such a thing as being too efficient. I think that completes our business, except we would, if we follow Bert's recommendation, we would terminate the live stream and just have a general open discussion on filling the state vacancies. Is that agreeable to everyone? I've seen some nods. So yes, with that Rachel, can we end the live stream? We will thank anybody who's followed this meeting. And with the word from your sponsor that we are seeking state members. And if you can think of anybody who would be a good candidate, please let us know, either through the website or heck, you can write to me at robert.checkaway@gmail.com and I'll get it onto Jill and Rachel. Fair enough. I guess we need a motion to adjourn the formal meeting. Anybody? Okay, I see Rena's hand in a second.
We don't have quorum, but yeah.
Another point of order. All right, so anybody opposed to adjourning the meeting? Seeing none, we can declare it adjourned. Thank you to anybody who has been visiting us on the live stream. As I say, please let us know if you have candidates for state seats. And with that,